Alright guys, Bludgeonboy here to play some more LittleBigPlanet 2 from the pod here, and this, as you should be able to judge by the title, is another create mode video, although this is not going to be a time-lapse. This is going to be an actual real-time speed video of me creating a level. Just trying to find a good empty spot. I don't know what half of these are. Here we go. So basically, I'm going to be trying to create the game, chess in LBP2. I know it's been done before, that's not the point. The point is for me to do it as quickly as possible, and to demonstrate that it can be done relatively quickly, I guess, if you know what you're doing. Whoop, not that one. There we go, as dark as possible. That's the basic goal of this, is to make the game as quickly as possible and get it as functional as I can within a short span of time. I don't know how long this is gonna take. I don't know if it's gonna be just one video or if I'm probably gonna end up splitting it up, because this is not gonna take like 2 hours. It's gonna take like at least 5 or 6, and that's like a bare minimum. I very much doubt I'm gonna get it working super quickly, but we'll see what we can do. So the only thing I've brought with me, because I've tried this before, I've tried to make chess once before, and actually got way further than I thought I did when I went back into the level. There were lots of microchips everywhere, indicating that I actually did somehow have an idea of what to do. But as you can see, I've already got the pieces made. These took a while to make, and considering I'm not very good with like visuals, I usually work with just blocks, just squares. Considering that I made these myself, I'm quite pleased with how they look, and I think they'll do fine for the purposes of this level. I think they'll be fine. And if we just hold on, I don't know how big they are, so I've got absolutely no clue how big anything in this level is. If we go zoom in a bit. Yeah, I don't know how I'm going to be doing this level. How I'm going to, the videos, I beg your pardon. I don't know how I'm going to be splitting them up, or titling them, or if I'm going to be cutting things out, if I'm going to be having jump cuts, or if I'm going to be just leaving everything in there. I think it'd be a bit much to leave everything in there, because I mean a lot of this will be repetitive, but I want to document as much of the process as I can. So how big is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So they're 8 by 8 grid spaces. I don't know how. First thing I want to work out. Whoopsie daisy. First thing I want to work out is how much power or how much speed I have to give to an advanced mover to move that much in one frame. Seeing as, like every other level I've ever made ever, this is gonna be grid-based movement. So where's the thing? Direction. Advanced mover. 15 was 4. Try 30. Acceleration 100. Where's the counter? There we go. Put that. No. Crap. It's not what I wanted to do at all. Didn't want to make it small. Am I doing this wrong? Like, don't you hold... That's not what I want to do. I want to make it smaller. Like, not physically smaller. I want to make it have less things on it. I'm sure there's a way to do that without having to do that. Am I just missing it? No. I'm missing something. I'm sure you could just flick the stick up and down and have these things get smaller. Nope. I've got no idea. Anyway. Yeah, I have not played this in a while, so pardon me if I do things that are clearly stupid and that don't make any sense, because that's why. So if we do this, just flick it Well, whoops. If we flick it once, it doesn't go anywhere. Why is that? Or do I have to do it from outside? Still not moving. No. Not quite sure why it isn't moving. It should be moving. Yeah, see, a lot of this is just going to be me thinking about stuff, and obviously you don't want to sit here with me flicking through menus trying to figure out basic stuff, like how to get this to work. That's seriously not making any sense to me, though. Why is it not moving when I ask? There we go, see what I mean? Ah, there we go, now I can move it. That's half. That's exactly half, so it needs to be 60. There we go. So 60 is the number we need to keep in mind. So, I'm just going through what the level has to have for me to classify it as, like, done. To say it's fit... Ooh, hold on a second. That's not going to be good. That little bit sticking off the end. Because those pieces are going to have to sit right next to each other. Aren't they? That's a bit weird. They are 8 by 8, or unless I meant the space is bigger than that. I guess I actually would. So really they should be 10 by 10. And if 8 by 8 is 60, if 8 is 60, 60 divided by 8 is not a round number. That's that's not good. That's not good at all. Because I don't want to make this out of like followers and have a whole grid of selectors hooked up to AND gates to pick which square you want the cursor to be on. I had that wired up last time. If you can imagine, like, 2 selectors hooked up to 4 AND gates with each possible wire combination of row and column. Like 2 rows and 2 columns means 4 spaces, which means you have to have 4 AND gates for each possible one. 8 by 8, which is how big a chessboard is, is substantially bigger than that. And I might put a picture on the screen now of the chess level I was making before. Like, this was years ago, by the way, not recently. Just how ridiculous it gets to be when you use followers instead of shifting things along space by space. So if these are 10 by 10, how big must they be? Is that 10 by 10? Yep, that's 10 by 10, so... Because clearly they're gonna butt up against each other. Yeah, see, I can't move that. It's not letting me move that. So there needs to be a gap. I had them all on the board before, so there must be something that I did. I don't know if I can make that smaller or... because I don't really want to. Suppose what I could do while I have them out is just do that. That looks fine. Not as nice as before, but at least they'll butt up next to each other. Although, the question now is, do I want them butting up against each other like that, or do I want a space between them? I'd rather a space between them, to be honest. Yeah, I guess if I can't get it worked out for 10 by 10, then I'll have to just work with 8 by 8 and have them sitting next to each other like that. I didn't think there'd be a problem. We'll keep that one there just in case. So 60 was 8 by 8. Yeah, that tells me I'm not gonna be able to do this unless I use a battery and combine it to do some weird calculations. So what do we need? We need a counter. I'm doing that by force of habit. I swear to God, you were able to just hold the right stick down and have them shrink horizontally, not go smaller. Like have the bar get shorter, not have them actually shrink. I don't know if I'm remembering that correctly or if that's just me being an idiot. So I'll move this over here. So 60. I think I am gonna have to use a battery. Because 60 divided by 8 doesn't work. That's 7.5. Oh no, I've got halves. What am I talking about? I've got halves. So I've got to add, what, 15? 15? I guess so. 75? I think that's correct. I could be wrong. It's not going anywhere again. Don't know why it's not doing what I want. There we go. Yep, it is 75. Okay, there we go. That's that fixed. So it's 75 then. And we'll get rid of that. It's also taller than 8, isn't it? Yeah, it is. Clearly we're going to have what the hell? Ah, these are not 8 by 8. Some of them are 8 blocks wide, but they're not. They're clearly 10 blocks by 10. I'm an idiot. Yeah, see the horse? The horse and the castle are both clearly 10 blocks high. So 10 by 10 it is. So 75 is the magic number. And you can put these right on top of each other, right? Yep, you can. Okay, so we're cool. So we'll get rid of... I prefer the flicky kind of design that I've got here, so we'll get rid of that. I don't know why I got rid of that, I could have just made it bigger. Right, here we go. Ah, fuck's sake. Just get rid of that. Lots of silly mistakes. This takes a lot longer than you might think it is. If you think it will... If you think this is like quick compared to... Or if you think you think creating a level is quick compared to like... What am I doing? Front view is messing me up. Why can't I go right out to the back? Clearly should be able to. There we go, because I'm going to have to do that anyway. So, yeah, if you think it's creating a level is fast, if you watch that create mode video, it's not. It takes a long time. So I think all these basically just going to have these things put behind them. Is that 10 by 10? Yeah, see now I'm not in front view, so I can't tell anymore. Here it is. So... yeah, this is basically going to be as functional a chess level as I can get going. I think I started to talk about what I wanted to include, but stopped. So first off, there's not going to be any AI, any artificial intelligence. Takes a bit too long to program that, especially for chess. Like if it was checkers, it might be possible, but again, I've got no experience with AI, so we'd be pushing it. To be perfectly honest with you, ooh, what happened there? It would be pushing it to do that. It's going to be two human players versing each other. There's not going to be any menu or anything like that. There might be music, but there's no need for a menu, really. So it's not necessary to make one. I'm pretty sure it's just going to, when I get this done, it's just going to go straight into the game and just start you off playing the game from the get-go. Just start with the white player and just keep going from there. Everything, or as much as possible, is to be automated. Like, obviously I can control where the pieces can and cannot go, so you can't cheat in that respect. Check and checkmate both have to be automatic. You should not have to manually indicate that the player is in check or checkmate. It's a systematic determination, so it should be able to do it automatically. And as many restrictions on piece movement in that respect should be made as possible. So if the black king is in check, and it's now the black player's turn, they can only move pieces to get their king out of check. So they can either A, move their king out of check, move it to a different space where it's not going to be the target of another piece, or B, if possible, move another piece into the path of the white piece that has it in check, such that the game can move on. So that stuff's going to be a little bit tricky to calculate. The way I'm figuring I'm going to do it is, did I already put all these together? I believe so. The way I'm thinking of doing it is having the game basically calculate two turns ahead, or not 2 turns, but one turn ahead as to where things are going to be on the next go if you put your piece where you're putting it. Because the way it's going to work is you're going to have a cursor, and you're going to pick pieces up and put them down. And basically, if you pick a piece up, there will be certain logic that follows it that will help calculate what the board's going to be like if you put the piece down there, because you can't go back. Once you put the piece down, that's it. It's the next person's go. So there's going to have to be logic there that determines whether or not that is a valid move. Not just if the piece is allowed to move in that direction, but if the other pieces, with respect to the king, are going to be able to target the king or not. So the black pieces are going to be neon, like neon bevel. That's the one. And we'll just go ahead and do this. Oopsie daisy. I made these pieces way before sticker panel came out, so I could make these out of sticker panel, but the problem with that is the pieces are black and white, the board is black and white. Granted, I could make the board like brown and white. The pieces have to be black and white, but the board can be like brown and white or red and white. Doesn't necessarily have to be black and white. But because these pieces are black and have a white outline, it means you can see them on any color. So even though they're physical materials which I'm not used to using, I'm used to using just hologram and sticker panel, and that's it. The neon bevel looks nice. I think it looks cool. I wish I could get like a black outline for the bottom ones so they'd match, because I think the black pieces look cooler, to be honest. But no can do. So I think we should make the board, to be honest. Now, I've got the computer up in front of me for 2 reasons. One, because if the footage corrupts itself, I want to stop recording and start recording again. I've got 2 different screens working here. I've rearranged my cables, so I've got 2 different screens going. Yeah, so one, if the recording corrupts itself, which it could very well do, because it's a very hot day today, and the computer might conk out on me, which I couldn't blame it for doing, to be honest. So we'll go chess, we'll go to the Wikipedia page, because I know there's a certain color that the board has to be in a certain corner. There's a certain like orientation that the pieces in the board have to be in when the game starts, and the computer is going nuts because it's trying to load Firefox while recording stuff. We can get rid of those, or get rid of one of those. Keep one. So yeah, as much of the game as possible has to be automated. Like check and checkmate and that. Stalemate, I think, might have to be player determined, if at all, because that can be quite tricky to calculate. If pieces move back and forth 3 times, it can be like a legitimate move rather than just being forced to do that. You can fuck around and move pieces back and forth if you want to, and it shouldn't detect that as it can be a legit move if you do that. You should be able to like move pieces back and forth without the game going, stalemate. The game is over now, even though you don't want to end the game yet. So I think stalemate might have to be a manual thing where both players hold square to agree that it's stalemate. Okay, so chessboard is placed with a light square at the right hand end of the rank nearest to each player. So it's right. So if we go get our sticker panel and get out of front view so I can see the layers. Front view is like very useful for this kind of stuff where you're using the grid, because the grid lines up perfectly. As you can probably see, it lines up perfectly with the things, but you cannot see, you have no depth perception, so you can't see which layers things are on, and that can lead to severe screw-ups later down the line. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but big grid is... oh no, it's not. It's 8. No, it's 4. Okay, crap. Put it on medium, I suppose. Yes. It's just to make it move faster, because it moves very slowly. Okay, so... I'll make this one black. I'm obviously going to have some kind of contrasting material in the background to highlight the actual board. Whoops. That's enough. And... because, yeah, you can barely see. There we go. And we'll turn it around. Ooh, there we go. Alright, yeah, it's hard to see where the board ends. So we'll get some, not that kind of wood, looks crappy, some decent wood. The kind of wood you'd put around a chess table. That looks like some good, hold on. Is that the kind of wood we want? Nah, that one looks way better. So, make this the exact same size. The exact same? No, half. There we go. And we'll put it all the way around the board, just so we know where the board ends. Because, yeah, not knowing where the board ends is not the best thing. Also, of course, with the... Whoa, can we zoom the camera out any further than that? We can, it's just when we move things. Oh, no. Because that's another thing with making board games like this. Because sometimes you have to make things really big. And... the game, like, prevents you from seeing half the board because the camera isn't zoomed out far enough. Which is not good. I know I could just be doing this in one big shape, but I'm just trying to get a little aesthetic thing happening here with 4 separate pieces rather than one big piece. Let's triangle, right angle triangle. yeah, with everything being automated, obviously not only do I need to prevent pieces from moving in the wrong space, I also need to prevent pieces and the cursor from moving off the board. And you kind of need to know where the board is for that to be possible. Why can't I make this bigger? There we go. Should have just done that first and then just copy-pasted it 4 times, but you know. Never think of these things when I'm supposed to. But yeah, little tiny things like this, giving the board an outline with 4 different pieces rather than 1 piece. Whoops, that's not where I'm supposed to go. Gives the visual some depth and make it look like you've put more effort in. Well, because you have put more effort in. But an actual chessboard would have 4 pieces with a triangular joins. They would not have just 1 big piece of wood. Probably wouldn't. Right, so there we go. There's our board. More things will obviously come later. We'll probably put the dead pieces on the side, on the left and right. But for now, what we'll do is we'll move these over to their respective positions off the board for now. We won't have them on the board unless they're being used. This takes too long. They're not lined up properly either. They need to be moved closer together. Get the king in the right spot. So these basically just need to be moved right next to each other. That's not glued on properly. That means the white one isn't glued on properly either. Yeah, when it comes to putting pieces like on the board, like you might be tempted to put the pieces on the board to see how it looks. And, well, you should see how they look. I already know how they look. They look fine. Because I've already done this before. But you might be tempted to leave them there or to repeatedly put them back to do things that are not testing. It's kind of pointless. And it will get in the way. Like we've got to get the board logic sorted out first before we get anything else done. Whoa, hold on. Is that right? Yeah, that's right. Yeah, leaving things like this on the board just gets them in the way. And I'm gonna have to like put a whole bunch of hologram on all the edges to detect things like where the piece can go. Although I think a lot of that's going to have to be follower logic and not... Yeah, see? It's not stuck. A lot of that will have to be follower logic and not glued like it was before. Seeing as I'm going to have pieces, I'm going to have logic that... so that's not good. I'd rather not have that butting up against it, to be perfectly honest. The problem is if I move the pawns up, then they have the same problem. Oh well. Guess it doesn't really matter that much, so they should be the other way around. Not... Yeah, like that, there we go. Right, so there are our pieces on the board. So that's... What material is that, by the way? I should probably tell you. Kind of do like clone. I think it's bevel. Like it's just ordinary bevel. It's a metal. Neon. be? Bev? No? Yeah, it's white plastic. There you go. So white plastic bevel and neon bevel for black and white pieces. Okay. Should probably glue this. That's what we should do. We should glue everything together. Is that everything? That's everything. Good. So the board is now just one big piece. So now we should get... Oh, I keep going in here again. 2 controlinators. One over there. One over there. Now, do I want to make these remote? I think I do. Or do I? Because technically they should be the same remote. Or, See, this is the kind of stuff you've got to think about in advance. You have to kind of think, how am I going to designate the players? Because there's only going to be one cursor for both players. And it's just going to swap control when one person's turn ends and the other person's begins. But I'm thinking, should I have one remote control on the same frequency, like to have 2 transmitters and 1 receiver that's both the same color, and then just switch between them to make sure that the transmitter doesn't work. I don't know if you can disable transmitters or not. I think you might get ejected from it, because the transmitter's got to be where the SAC bot is sitting, SAC person is sitting. So, might be best in that case to have these be different colors. So we'll have player 1, red, yes, trigger radius, gigantic, yes, all visible in play mode, no. Oh, do we? If anything, I want them on the top and the bottom, if they're going to be, or in the corners. Better yet, in the corners. Yeah. So we'll really play one should be down here. So it should be like that, and then like that. Oops, daisy. Let's move this one up. Well, actually, no. We'll get the logic sorted out on one and then copy paste it. That's another thing. When you have like lots of different pieces and stuff in games like this, I thought that might happen. That's logical, but also painful that it decides that's necessary. Also, I don't know how I think I can put it in the middle, seeing as it's... I'm an idiot. You can't put it in the middle, because it's 2 by 2, and that's a 5 by 5 square in the corner. I'm an idiot. It's not going to go in the middle at all, because it's 5 wide. I'm a moron. Maybe I should make it 6 wide, just to make it easier. Yeah, I guess so. We'll make it 6 wide then. Little things like this is what makes it take ages. Little changes like this that you just don't think about that. Like, I was not thinking how wide the thing was going to be, how wide the controller was going to be. Like, who gives a shit how wide the controller is going to be? I do now, because it's relevant. Things will become relevant over the course of your creating process that were not relevant at the start, and will happen a lot of times. These are the same material, yeah? Whoa, what happened? That should be... Why? I don't understand why it's doing that. Oh, it's different width, that's why. See, you can't tell depth. There we go. Oh, they'll have to be little triangles, won't they? Along the edge there. Really what I should do is just make one and then copy paste it like I said I would before. That'd be a much smarter idea. Let's do it again. Yeah, little things like this, you just don't think about them, and then they happen, or they become relevant, and you have to change things. Like in that snake video when I made the board way too big. Although that really should have been an earlier consideration, given that's how big the board is. That's more important than an aesthetic thing like this. But yeah, things like this, you just don't think about them until they become relevant, and the camera is too far back again. I think we might be off grid. Might be on grid with the middle grid, but off grid with the small one, or the other way around, which is not optimal. There we go. So if I just go back to medium, yeah, it is, it's off. So we'll just select everything, move it over by one. There we go. So now this should be able to go, not in the corner. Oh no, we'll go in the corner now for some reason. Cool. So this is player 1. This is the red transmitter. Yep. Blah 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 blah. Okay, so we want it to be controlling just the cursor, really. I'm probably gonna have to replace these like several times. But, well actually, wouldn't we want to put all the controls on the receiver? I think we would. Yeah, the only thing I want to put on here is like an "Are you ready" thing, so both players are ready, and both players can start at the same time. That'd be really the only thing I want to put on here, so I think that's done for now. I can sort out that's very basic kind of "Are you ready?" yes, no logic, so move this up here. Is there one on the... oh no, I would have deleted it anyway. Change this one to player 2. Are we still recording? Yes, we are. Good. Up to 38 minutes, and we have absolutely nothing done except the board. See what I mean? And we already made the pieces, so that's how long this is going to take, folks. It's going to take a long, long time. Okay, so we got the board. We got those. Now we want the cursor. Cursor. Blah, 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 blah. That on, do we now need material to put it on first? There we go. Whoops, not triangle. Square. Square that's 10 by 10, just like this thing. It's invisible. Now I can't make them red, can I? Because chess is white versus black. But the problem is, you can't have a white cursor or a black cursor because it'll mesh with the squares and you won't be able to see it. So, that's not going to work. Which means we need to think of... because I could do red versus blue, which makes a lot more sense. That's the colors I'm using for the transmitters. But yeah, I'm just thinking if I use that red-blue color scheme, is there another color I could use that's just neutral and have an indicator somewhere else as to whose go it is? Not entirely sure, because I can't really indicate it with the control indicators because they're too small. They're too small. Because the color, making the cursor a certain color and having red assigned to 1 and blue assigned to 2 is a very quick way for the eyes to recognize whose go it is and who can do what. It's quicker for your eyes to look at the cursor and go, oh, it's red, therefore it's player 1's go, than it is for them to look for words saying player 1's go or whatever. And I'd rather not have to zoom the board out to do that, although I think I do have to do that already because of the sides. I'm going to have words on the board anyway. Not on the board, but I'm going to have words saying check, checkmate, stalemate, regardless. But I need to have like a constant indicator that it's player 1's turn. Check and checkmate can be kind of, I guess they have to be off to the side and permanently on as well for certain turns, because you have to remain, as long as you're in check, the check light should be on. What are they referred to in chess? Are they just referred to as black and white? Yeah, I believe so. Okay, so yeah, it is. It's just white and black. So I think what I'll do is I'll have the cursor be green, which is a more universal color, and I'll have words indicating whose turn it is. Because I'm gonna have to have words for everything else, which means you're gonna have to. Because what fucking color am I supposed to use for check and checkmate? Like you can't represent that with just a color. It's gonna take a bit more than that. So make that darker. That's what we want. And oh, it's not gonna work. I need. There we go. That should do us, and then we'll stick these together to make a cursor that you can see anywhere on the board. Although it'll have to be. Oh, whoops, daisy. That's not what I wanted. And that's not what I wanted either. See, I keep forgetting the layers. I want them to be one. I want it to be one thin thing, one just thin layer. And it'll go above, so you can see it on any square. Okay, above the pieces. That's another thing. How will I light up the pieces so I know? So you know when you've got one picked up, because it's going to be top down, and I'm going to have a movie camera with depth set either to very small or to 0. That's something else I should probably just set up right now. Is that'll probably go on like a general board of logic. I think it's the first microchip which actually pulled out very late in the game. Hold on, what? Oh no, it's in the middle. Okay, so we want movie camera. Movie camera. Not familiar with where things are. Okay, so movie camera way out. That's the middle right there. That's the middle. And I'll have to get rid of hold time forever, transition time 0, zero controls no, flatness, this is what I want. So I don't know if I want it completely flat or if I just want it very flat. Because I kind of do still want it to be noticeable when you pick a piece up. But whoa. It's a lot of camera shake, I just wanted like one. That just fucks with my eyes, it's not worth it. Okay, so right, so I should make words down here for these things, I suppose, or should I make the... Now I think what we'll do for now is we'll actually make the piece logic. Or the board logic, I'm not sure. Seeing as the piece logic is going to have to be based off the board logic, I think the board logic should be first. So, first off, I want to make hologram. Make the movement logic. This should be fairly simple. I've done this a million times, so whoops. Should that be invisible? So this is just going to be a piece of hologram with a tag on it that just says if the thing is intersected with that side, the cursor can't move right. Same up here, cursor can't move up. Don't know why I'm doing it again, I'm an idiot. Just copy paste. Is this on medium or small? Taking too long. And one up here. And one down here. Tags. Dandy. Whoop. Small again. Should have put tag on first, doesn't matter. Now, again, another thing you got to think about is what color you want to make the tags, because the tags will all do different things, and you obviously have to put labels on them. But colors allow you to very quickly establish what a tag does, like what group of logic a tag is in. So, I usually use red tags for things to do with movement, so we'll make this one red. E bottom. Do we need anything else for bottom? I don't think so. Bottom. That one's got to be left. This one right. And this one up. Or top. Thinking if, because I'm gonna have to have a left and right thing for the cursor. Although that won't be, will that be wireless? Not exactly sure if I'm gonna have two microchips for that or not. If I'm gonna have one microchip for each player that just switches off. That'd make more sense. That would make more sense, to be honest. But we'll deal with that when we get to it. So that's the edges of the things. All of these need a thing that says square. Do they? Do all of these need a thing that says square on it? Whoa, that's not right. Is that the middle? That's the middle. Do all of these need a thing that says square on it? Hmm. Because the way the pieces are going to work, the way the movement logic is going to work, or not the movement, the logic that will detect where the piece can go. I'm going to have pieces of holograms stuck together that are just glued together on every possible space it can go on. But because, like, for the Queen, for example, she can move up, down, left, right, and diagonal any distance. And for the ones that can move any distance, I'll have to put 8 on each side. But to verify how far she can go, because she can only go A, as far as the board goes, and B, she can't go in, like, if a piece is blocking her way, whether it's a black piece or a white piece, she can't. She cannot block that. Or she can't go past that, I beg your pardon. The only piece that can jump over other pieces is the horse. So the logic basically would say if the piece before it is active, and the piece, like, if you want to go to a certain square, the logic would say if the piece before it is valid, and this piece is valid, and this piece is empty, and it's a square. I gotta explain that better. If you want to travel to square X, if the square before X is empty, and the square at X is empty, and the square at X is actually a square, not some position that's not on the board, then you can go there. And because it would always take into account the ones before it, like if you want to go to X, and the logic says if the piece before X is valid, the piece before X would also have the same logic that said, is the piece before it valid? And every single square would have, is the piece before it valid? Is the piece before that one valid? Is the piece before that one valid? And it would just be recurring until you got back to the Queen again. So it would constantly recalculate whether the next square is valid or not, based off of if the previous ones are. And if any square is not a valid travel destination, then obviously none of the ones after it will be. So all the ones after that just get no signal at all, because the conditions will not be verified for the ones before it. I think an easy way to do that, though... Excuse me, I had chips before, so I'm a bit gassy. I think an easy way to do this would be to have these be bigger. I'll have to move this one out the way. And that one. An easy way to do this would be to have 2 tags on each edge. One for what direction it is, so because the direction, the advanced mover does actually need to know what direction, what specific directions the cursor can and cannot move in, and just saying it's at the edge doesn't help, because what edge is it at? Like if it's at the bottom edge, it can't move down, but it can still move left, right, and up. Unless it's also on the left edge and the right edge, or the right edge. Obviously that also comes into account, but if you just say, if the logic just says, if at an edge, don't allow the cursor to move, then if you move it to the bottom edge, it won't be able to move anywhere. And you'll never get it off the edge, so it's got to be direction specific. Whoopsie. Yeah. So they should all be overlapping by 1. Right. Because the reason I have to overlap them in this case, I'll get to once I move the tags Whoops. So I'll have that one say just edge. Because obviously I could make it say if not detecting bottom tag, and if not detecting up top tag, and if not detecting left tag, and if not detecting right tag, then you aren't at the edge. And this is obviously a square. But I could also just have it say if not edge. If not detecting an edge tag, where an edge tag exists on all four edges, which would be a lot simpler than having to account for every single different edge tag, rather than just making one tag that signifies yes, this is the edge, and it doesn't matter what direction you're in. So not really any point in having to account for all different edges when there can just be one tag that just says edge. And the reason I need them to overlap, by the way, is if I get a diagonal one, if I didn't have that little overlap bit, it'd detect the bit above this square and the bit to the right of this square, but it wouldn't detect this bit up here. And the next diagonal space, if I can just get an example, the next diagonal space would be right there. It wouldn't touch the top edge or the right edge. It only touches that overlapping bit, which is why I need that overlapping bit. So, there we go. Now for this thing, I'm gonna need... Whoops, don't press play, ever. Things might fall down if I've accidentally spawned things that aren't... It's not what I wanted. Get rid of that. So obviously this thing will have to detect if there are those specific direction tags to make sure that they aren't there, such that the piece can move. I don't know if I'm going to put the, should I? I think I'll have to, and then put the receivers on here individually. So the way this is going to work is these are going to be the receivers. So this one's going to be blue. This one's going to be red. Whoops. Nope, I was right the first time. Red. Blah, blah, blah. And this is going to be the movement logic. Actually, notice cursor. So all the cursor logic will go on here, and so I'll need the movement, just the plain old movement. Really miss having a keyboard. Make it red. Get the advanced mover back out. So what was the magic number? 75. I believe it was 75. One hour already, and we're only up to making the cursor. Good God. So we'll need OR gates, I suppose, at the very, very, very end. So then we need direction combiners for each end. I'm going to make this a lot bigger than it is. Way, 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 way bigger. They're gonna have to be 4 each. 2 D-pad inputs and 2 analog stick inputs, 1 for each player. We need counters. Counter, 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 counter. See, you can! Oh, so it's on the microchip, you can hold the stick up and down and it does that. Right. Yeah. Gotcha. Okay, so that should be 1 for a 1 frame thing. I really should just make it. No, made that mistake before. I should just make one of these and then copy. Although, if you copy paste logic on a microchip, of course, it rotates like that and comes out all stupid. So I guess there's no point. Hold on. Left, right D-pad, left, right stick, left, right stick, left, right D. Yeah, so there should be 4. Is that it? I think that's it. Oh, no, of course, the, if it's valid. I need to know if it's valid. Right, so... Okay, so tag sensors. Detect them. Oh no, not detect them anywhere. Oh, hold on. No, these can't go on here. I'm an idiot. These are the ones that have to go on the other bits. So that one's got to detect up. They shouldn't even be that big, should they? Should they? Would they ever need to be that big for any reason? Seems a bit excessive, to be honest. Because, do they have to be? I'm confused. Because maybe for something else they have to be, but to detect the edges they don't. Have to be quite so large. Crap. It's thrown me for a loop. I also think because that's a thin layer. It's gonna, although it's gonna be on the ground. It's never gonna be on the ground. It's never gonna be in that layer. So, yeah. That doesn't matter for now, I guess. Let's just detect, because if it was going to be on the very, very bottom, which it won't because it's the cursor, but if it was, the triple thickness layer of hologram wouldn't even intersect it, because it doesn't intersect the very bottom thin layer and the very top thin layer. And if the cursor was on the very bottom, these pieces of hologram would be on the very bottom thin layer, so they wouldn't even intersect, and they need to intersect for it to know that you can't go there. So it actually need to be impact sensors. Impact, 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 impact. Sensor, impact, sensor, projectile, impact, sensor. There we go. Impact, sensor. Include rigid connections, no. Include touching. Do I want to include touching? Don't think so. Require tag, yes. Red tag. It says, in this case, top. And inverted. If we don't have to put anything else there, we can just put that on top of the piece of hologram. But for now, that's got to come into here. That's top, so it'll go up there somewhere. We really want the left and right ones for now, but we can just copy paste that over to these 3 things. And just change the name of the tags. So that'd be left. That'll be bottom. And that'd be right. So this back up. This back up. Move this down a bit. So that's bottom. rid of those. And left and right. So left needs to go into the negative, and right needs to go into the positive. That can also move in a bit. Right. So what this basically says for left and right is, if you detect the analog stick of player 1, the analog stick of player 2, the D-pad of player 1 or the D-pad of player 2, and the D-pad and analog stick inputs are split by direction, they're split by axis, so this would be the left-right axis input here. So if you detect the player 1 left-right analog input, player 2 left-right analog input, player 1 D-pad left-right input, or player 2 D-pad left-right input. If you detect it going left... Oh, hold on. Hold on a second. That's what I didn't do. Knew there was something missing, because there's no way to tell which direction it's actually going in. Unless you do this. Okay, direction is splitter. So this thing splits the input into like left and right, rather than just having it left or right. Right then, so let's say you press right. So you press right. If you press right and there's nothing, and the tag, the piece of hologram on the right side of the cursor does not detect the right edge hologram thing, then this thing will go off for 1 frame, which will move the advanced mover to the right by exactly 1 grid space. 75 speed for 1 frame. And we basically have to do the exact same thing for up here. I don't know if we're going to have the room for it. Hope we do. I'm going to move some stuff back a bit. There we go. So we don't need the... So, which one's which though? That's the question. So... they would cross over for absolutely no reason. So this one is top. So that one needs to go over where the plus is. And that one where the minus is. That can go into there. That can go into there. That can go into there. And that, whoops, and that to there. And that to there. They can go away. And there we go. That is our direction logic. Pretty much finished. We need to get the actual inputs from these things. So, left, right, D-pad. Left, right, analog. That middle one there is L3, not the... Player 2 D-pad. And player 2 analog. And the analog, by the way, won't mess up the advanced mover, because you might be thinking, well, if it's analog input, then if you don't move the stick all the way, will the advanced mover move 1 grid space? Because it's not getting full input, it's not getting like 100% power, so will it move 100% of the way it's supposed to? It will, because these counters do give it 100%. It's being converted to a digital signal over here. So all the analog stuff is lost when it gets to here, because the counter is either on or off. There's no middle for it, so it just goes straight on and straight off again. Which is why you need those, by the way. You need to put this stuff in a very specific order for it to work. So that's that done. Oh, I suppose we need the up down stuff as well. So let's play it 2, isn't it? I don't know why I'm like putting them in specific places so I know which players' wires are going where, but I don't really know why I'm doing that. Holy crap. I didn't think it'd be that big. I kind of forgot how many wires I'm going to have going into this at once. And there we go. Now you might also be thinking, well, doesn't that mean both players can move the cursor at the same time? Make this way bigger. It does at the moment, but it won't for long, because the reason I have the transmitters in here is so I can deal with that. The controllers have a little tiny input. I don't know if you can see it there. It's a little white thing. Get to pop it out of the way. Little tiny white flashing input down the bottom. That input is the eject input. Eject player. But there's no player in there. If you have an actual player in the control nether and you activate that input, it will fling them out of the control nether and put them back on foot. If it's a receiver, what that input does is it prevents it. It basically turns it off. But it's backwards. Because it's eject player, which means if the input is on, the control nether is off. Like, the control nether is on by default unless that input is on. The input doesn't turn it on, the input turns it off. It's backwards, basically, to every other input. So what you have to do is basically set this up backwards, such that you still hook it up player 1, player 2 like this, but you invert it. And we'll also put a third port in there for now, just so neither one of them is on. And I'll just give a little NOT gate. These NOT gates, by the way, are really good for debugging stuff and making level, because you can... They're like batteries, but you can flick them on and off without having to scroll through that entire number thing, because the battery has like a number, and to turn it off you got to take it down to 0. But a NOT gate you can turn, like, if the NOT gate is inverted output, that means it's on. If you untick it, that means it's off. And it's like an on-off switch, basically. You can just turn stuff on and off at will really easily. So I just want whoa. Whoa. Ah, yes. See what happened when I press play? The whole thing just crashed to the ground. Because I did not put anti-gravity on it. That's why you don't press play unless you're sure nothing's going to move. It's very, very dangerous to do that. So we'll put this on here, and we'll just turn this up. And there we go.